welcome, people who are just. We're going to get an insider view because this is a special open studio with the miniaturist. So we're going to see, and because from further away, you don't see all of the individual pieces and parts that make
it kind of goes up pretty high.
what's the umbrella. What material is that? I do want to announce my very special guest today, Lydia Ricci, based in Philadelphia. She has her artist account is called From Scraps, and we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to get an insider view because this is a special open studio Meet the Miniaturist. So we're going to get an insider view of Lydia's studio, and then maybe even get a little bit of a demo on what she's working on right now. This is going to be crazy exciting. I'm excited to introduce her. We've worked together in the past. She is a badass miniaturist. We had an exhibition a few years ago, and she was one of the featured artists. So I'm just so happy to be chatting with her and introducing her to you guys if you don't know about her already. So welcome, Lydia. It is great to see you, great to chat with you. And you're coming to us live from your studio. Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into the studio space.
Well, I'm 24. I am a trained graphic designer.
Yeah.
But I've always done something messy on the side. I've always had a clean desk and I've had a messy desk. And I guess I've always kind of done more scrappy collage work and played with words as well as objects for a very long time. And somewhere along the way, I started making these 3D sculptures around cars. And well, that's what we'll talk about today. And anyway, I live outside of Philadelphia. What else? I live outside of Philadelphia. I teach at University of the Arts in Philadelphia. And I'm married with 2 children and a dog and a cat. 2 cats. One that doesn't like me, so I don't even mention him.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah. You went to school for art. You've been a practicing artist. You're currently teaching. And we talked a little bit about this. Your art is more around sculpture and 3D art, and not necessarily around miniatures per se, but your work actually does end up being small scale and miniature.
I feel like that's where I feel most the small scale. It's interesting. Like, and I think when we first met, it's like I was doing a lot of pieces, and someone said, "Oh, so you work in miniature?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize they were small." I actually didn't realize that was happening, but I guess that relationship, and it was actually very exciting to hear you say, like, I think we have a similar understanding, like helps us understand the world by kind of shrinking it down and making it accessible.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things that makes your work so unique is that it is in miniature. Mm-hmm. and anytime anything is miniature, it really does make you super focus in on what you're looking at. But I mean, I think there's so many different things we have to touch upon with that makes your work so special and so wonderful. It is everything you do is made literally from scraps of material that you find everywhere and everywhere.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that, because you mentioned in your bio that you've been collecting materials for years.
Oh. And it's interesting because I don't think I knew. So I used to collect things and then hang them on the wall. Like I mean, like an eraser set that I got in Chinatown, and I just thought it was so beautiful that, I mean, I would just hang it on the wall and like no frame needed. Just that's how I kind of decorated apartments. And somewhere along the line, I was like, well, I had 1 or 2 boxes. Then, I moved to California and I had 3 or 4, and then moved back east and it was like 5 or 6. It's like they kind of kept expanding, and then it became kind of the materials. And sometimes those boxes were just to store things. And then one day I actually started making things. I realized I can cut this stuff apart. It was just so valuable before, and now
boxes of materials, boxes
stuff inside the stuff. Yeah, it was all just so. I really connect with a piece of something that you think nothing of, but I'm trying to see if, like I guess if this side shows you, like, I don't know, this is a caps. These are for like tool, like caps that you would like.
Yeah.
you know, and I think the caps were on there, but I think this is so beautiful. Like, this is a really, if I was going to do a ranking system, like, this is a really good, this is just beautiful to me. And like, honestly, and sometimes I'll hang it up and I'll just look at it because it makes me so happy. But now I'll actually use it as a you know, a part of a project and you know, to make sense. It'll speak in that form. It'll translate.
Yeah. You think it's random, but there is a scheme to what we're looking at. There's a color scheme. There's a color palette, I think, to not only your work, but what the scraps that we're looking at. It's so
and it's a tone. It's like a texture thing too.
It's tone and texture that is consistent. It's not, you know, you're picking up, I guess, you know this already. You're picking up stuff that appeals to you, and it is consistent across all of the materials that you're finding.
And it's funny because I sometimes, one of my biggest roadblocks, I will say, is if I was just talking to a friend right before this, and they asked, you know, well, do you just look around and say, oh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful green. Like, I should make something out of that. And it's never that. It's always that I want to make something. And I'm like, and I can talk a little bit more about that, but I want to make something. And then I go into these piles, you know, and try and find the pieces that are right for it. And like, it's funny, in the past, I guess I've been doing this officially for like 10 years or 11 years. It really, my standards are extremely specific for what I need to make it feel like it's right for the piece. Like, there's an audition that goes on, like there's, you know, I go shopping in the scraps, and then it's like, I just sit there and touch it and look at it, like, and there's really an audition process for that piece to be the piece that gets glued in.
So what comes first? Does the concept for what you're going to make come first?
Yes.
It does. And then you go digging amongst the scraps to find the pieces that will craft it. And everything you make is from scratch, using materials that you find.
Yes. The concept is like, you know, about what's going on in life. And it's not always just, it's a lot of it, because there are a lot of nostalgic.
Yeah.
Pieces, you know, it's like, you know, it is the folded up, and it is very nostalgic, but this piece actually was a bit more inspired by the fact that no one was going anywhere this holiday season. Like, we were all kind of staying put, and this thing, that's why I constructed it folded, because it was staying put. It was going to be in the corner. It was kind of a reminder that, you know, it's going to be ready for us when we're ready for it, but right now everything's a little bit folded and put away. So okay, and that's kind of how we all felt, I think.
But wait, when was that piece created?
November.
Oh, so that was in November.
Yeah, for the holidays.
Can you go really nice and close to the camera, and so we can all see? And because from further away, you don't see all of the individual pieces and parts that make up that folding.
No,
it's incredible. What are some of the materials? I mean, obviously it's going to be cardboard. Is there any fabric, or is it?
There's actually not much cardboard. Well, maybe this. I think this one I actually used
cardboard. What is it?
This is a metal.
All right. Oh, it is metal. All right.
Metal. Normally I don't use much metal, but this is metal. Oh, it's from those old, I knew what it was.
What?
And because it has to make that cut. Like I said, these are from some old folders from my dad's house, you know, from the tax folders, those prom metal things.
Right.
Kind of see.
All right. So,
and then the mattress, to get that mattress right though, that does have some cardboard buildup in it just to get it. But this is some sort of old bill or utility item.
So it's paper.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So stay right there, because because I want to get a good look, and I want people to see a good look while you're just stationary, because it really is incredible. Talk a little bit about
how tiny, you know, that's the other thing. It's like, it's small, but it's not minuscule, because I still want you to be able to kind of, I don't want it to be so precious that you can't, you know, kind of get closer to it and respond to it. Do you know what I mean?
So it's not, so do you have scale in mind when you're creating, or you just create to the size that you want it to be?
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be, it's the size that's right for the object and the story that's being told.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it has a vintage feel to it, obviously. And so do all of your pieces do tell a bigger story. So talk a little bit about that, a little again about what drove you to make this. We're all inside, and
So this was, I think, November, and it was the idea that, you know, this holiday season, no one was going, you know, you need, I know some people did sleep on foldaways going, but like this holiday season, for me, this was about the guests coming over or being the house guest. So there's actually a dual concept there, but it was this idea of, because it was folded up, it was this idea that it stayed in the corner this year and it was ready and it's, you know, it's waiting, but it didn't need to be put into action, you know?
yeah, I just love it. I love it because it just it does make you feel something, and that's where the art comes into play, you know?
That's the
You
goal.
see
You
that
know?
and you feel something, and I love it. It's lovely.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Yeah. So everything you do has a vintage feel to it. Definitely speaks to a bigger picture. And I mean, I think it's tremendous. So what are you working on now that we might be able to get a
Well, I just finished,
Oh,
let's see, I just finished and posted, um, this is hot off the press, the ski, I don't know if you can see that,
yeah.
but this is meant to be, and it's funny, this, and there's the boot, which I deliberately kind of left open because this kind of summer, so this one, yes, of course, it's ski season and all that, but this one is also a lot about, we need too much stuff to do things, like, you know, the gear, and I'm not a gear person. Like, I kind of like to, I'd rather have people pop over and I'll make them dinner from whatever I have, and I don't want to like kind of overly plan and stuff. And the fact that you have to do so many things, you need so much stuff ahead of time. Everything seems so complicated anymore. Where and growing up, like, we were not a big skiing family, and all I remember is just the rental skis. So this is not the like fancy. It's hard to find reference images of rental skis too, because here's the thing, no one really documented them, okay, because they're such a nightmare. They didn't work. They kind of were the bane of your existence. And that's what skiing was, you know, to me. It's like this idea of, you know, so many steps before you can get to this big payoff, you know, and it's like, why does everything have to be so hard? So that was kind of the culmination of things. But at this, and that's why the latches, like, they could barely close, and it's kind of why I created that one. But the ski was even harder than the boot, which was kind of funny because it's so
And you only made one.
oh yeah, it's funny. It's like I didn't even, the story's told in one. Like, it's interesting. As soon as things start becoming pairs, I think it becomes a little too
Literal.
literal. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
it's not about it's about the fact that it can't even fit, and it's
Yeah.
clunky and it's heavy. And I wish I could hand this to you because I think people get surprised too. They're very sturdy.
Oh, I was going to ask you. Okay, so I mean, do you use special glues or do you use special finishes to keep it all intact?
There's nothing special about what happens here in terms of like, there's no like technical, every piece has its own process. And it's funny, I just ordered some like X-Acto knives from Amazon because it's hard to find anything now. And like an entire pack doesn't work. Okay. So the specialness, so I use hot glue. And I love it.
It doesn't provide bulk. I mean,
yes, and I burn but it also provides an immediacy. I use other glue too, this Sobo glue too.
Fabric?
So it depends what the moment is. Like, I think because I kind of know how paper works. I feel like even really when I was in like 4th or 5th grade, like I would be really careful and make something and then like spill water on it and would ripple. And I'm like, well, maybe I can iron that. Like, trust me, I have never ironed something successfully, like clothing, never ironed it successfully. However, I kind of can figure out how paper is going to respond to something and high heat. And I'm like, well, if I add a little water and this, so I kind of understand what's going to do what I want. Sometimes the glue is too thick and it, you know, the hot glue. And so sometimes it's a thin, and you know, how you mold things, but each piece kind of has its own process. But I can't say that I'm like, I set out and be like, I need my tools, I need my hot glue, I need my this, I need my that. It's never that thoughtful. It's very, and I don't want to say it's chaotic, it's more instinctual, I would say, of the moment. Okay.
Well, you're working with the materials so much that you know them at this point, and you
I
know
do.
it's going to work. So I'm curious about the weight.
Well,
Does it have any weight to it, or is it?
yes, it's
does.
really kind of heavy.
I love that. What's giving you that weight? Is it just a lot of material?
Yes, and I will say that because I wonder if I have a picture. Because okay, so everything's three-dimensional in my world that I make, but I have a tough time in 3 dimensions. So I work very, let me see if I have it. Like here's like kind of the example, like how I work. It's like I work very flat. So I kind of built like and I'm more self-aware now than I was, say, like 5 or 6 years ago. So to start something like this, I need like a triangle, not a triangle, I can't even say a rectangle. I made a rectangle. And to get the right shape for the proportion, that took me like 3 days, just to make a rectangle and then build it up. And then it's kind of like it expanded out from there. And then it's like a cut. So it is sculpting, but it's like not just like corrugated. It's like, it also has to be, this is the other thing. It has to be the right material. Like I can't use like I think I have I can't use an encyclopedia cover for this. That makes no sense. Like it has to be like the right sort of, I feel like I used a little bit of a Scrabble board or something complicated.
Did you have size in mind before you started, or did it? And did you achieved your goal in terms of the size?
Well, I will say I got to I was like 1 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, and I look at things and I can't quite, I never use a pencil. I don't measure. I just kind of do and then I realized it was too long. So I had to cut the whole thing in half and chomp out another piece and then glue it back and do a little surgery. So
it's a process, but
yes,
you have it in mind what size you want to go.
Yeah, I knew it was wrong. And it wasn't wrong because all of them are a little wrong, but this was wrong for me.
Well, the fact that you're not working off of a scale, there is no wrong. It's to what you envision this size to be, which I think is awesome. And I love the fact that it's got weight to it. I just think that's so.
Oh, it really does. Yeah, it has a lot of weight to it. Yeah.
So I wanted to check in with the folks who are watching and find out if anybody has any questions. Before we sort of move on, we do have some wonderful comments about your work, which is really nice. And Donald's helping today, and he's put a whole bunch of links in the comment section in case you're looking for Lydia later on. Tressa wants to know what the weight of the boot is. What do we think the weight is? I mean, it's going to still be in ounces.
Wait, let me think. I'm trying to think of an analogy. No, it's as heavy as the screwdriver.
Like 5 ounces.
Okay.
So that's weightier than I'm even thinking.
Yeah, these two are about the same. Yeah, because when you glue and layer it kind of adds up. And I wish you could see inside there. It's it kind of goes up pretty high.
What does the boot?
The inside stuff.
Yeah.
It's not, you can put your foot in there. The other thing with tools, I will say, because I have the screwdriver, but this is not to do anything with. I think it was I don't really know. I don't have set tools. I use this thing because I don't know where this ended up in my office to cut wires. But if anyone has a suggestion as to how to cut metal, bring it on, because this is not the right tool for that. And I've learned that the hard way.
All right, before we talk about, I want to talk about how you bring your work to life, because we're going to talk about your photography, we're going to talk about your animation. I saw you pull a piece forward. I don't know.
I was just grabbing it. So this is
what is that?
This is the Miss Pac-Man from, I think you had posted that too.
Yes.
So, but it just, I really do get interested in, I try not to use lettering and stuff, even though I come from the a design world. They're not complete replicas. I guess they're interpretations.
Well, it does fool the eye when you first see it. It fools the eye the way you're creating, and then when you pull it forward, you see all of the different pieces that bring it to life. It's crazy.
Yeah. So there's another example. I feel like there's no real type there, but although here's a little. This is fun to see. Doing what's on the underside too. Is always kind of I even think that actually this is one of my more this the bra was kind of kind of fits okay, but I'm not gonna incriminate myself, but like I don't use any fabric, just because
Right.
I don't relate to fabric,
Because it's all about scraps, not fabric scraps.
about scraps, like, and I feel like,
Oh, I
yeah,
love
you know,
Yeah.
so this was an old, actually this lamp I own, and I've shot it with the actual lamp and the toilet seat. But again, like this toilet seat is an example of, I dream about, I know people think it's gross, but I love those puffy toilet seats. I think
Yes.
I think
70s.
they were so comfortable. I know they're gross, but they were so comfortable, you know, and this was like an old, I feel like an old jewelry box,
Yeah.
you know. I just finished something else. Oh, I just did oh, I'll show you. This is the first piece I ever did.
Oh, because we actually had a question about that. So, right, you talked a little bit about starting with cars.
I started with cars, and actually I show a picture sometimes if I give a talk, and I say, there's a picture of my kids like running out of the front yard with the car, and it's like, this is where my inspiration came from. And it's nothing to do with my kids. It's like all about my obsession with driving and cars. And we had moved from Brooklyn to outside of Philadelphia, and all of a sudden it was like, I'm gonna have to drive every day, not just drive myself, like drive a little baby around. And I was nervous, and it just was a lot of, I just don't like cars. I like to walk. I don't even mind an airplane. Like I love buses and trains and a cab or an Uber, but I just don't love driving. No, just it does nothing for me.
Right.
Like, and so this was one of the first cars, I guess, in my life. And it's funny, I did it one day at an office, and I didn't realize, like, I mean, I knew it was a car we grew up with. I don't know whose. Again, I don't even care about, like, I'll go outside, and we are in a small neighborhood, and I'll go outside and I'll open up the door, and my son's behind me. He's like, that's not our car. I'm like, oh, like, you know, and I mean, like, we should know.
It's a Dodge Dart, is it?
It was a Dodge Dart, exactly.
Oh, good one.
Very well done. Like, I feel like, because I had to look that up.
Oh.
So again, you can tell it's constructed a little differently than, you know, and this is, I guess, like 12 years old.
Right.
You
and
know?
there's a whimsical sort of edge to it versus, let's say, some of your work that you just showed, which is a little more literal, but definitely not literal, because it's freaking made from scraps. But
I'll show you. I just finished. So then there's this car I just finished kind of recently. I call this the car slash. See, we never knew what these cars were growing up. We played this game called MASH, which was mansion, apartment, shack, or house, and you could like figure out who you got married to and figure out where you're going to live, and then you picked cars. And this was always the worst car. And I didn't know it was even called an El Camino. It's only called a car slash truck, like, because we did not. No, but I even did I don't know if you can see, like, I did the inside. I did the whole panel on this one because it just made sense and everything. But this is where I started. I did the back and built out, because this was the memory right here. Is like, what? Like, I didn't understand the cars.
I just want to remind people again,
I want to show you
everything that is made, that piece is made up of scraps of material.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing this for me, but maybe for folks who are watching, just be reminded that these really are sculptures.
This is also why I ran out of it. So look, so like, it's like,
like it just needs a little help, like in real life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens when things kind of shift in color. Sometimes it's okay.
Accidents, they're called.
Yes.
All right.
It's
life. So there's a whole other component to your work. It's not only that it is just fascinating how you construct these pieces and what they end up looking like, but there is an art to the way you photograph them and how you shoot them, both for photography and for animation. So talk about that. Was that just something you did, or was that just like, how did that evolution happen? Because that's a whole nother art form.
It is I guess I never thought of it being a whole other
art form.
But yeah, like I always shot them.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I always shot them, and like, I will say,
but your gifts did you start out as gifts? Because that's when I first started watching.
Yes. So they were what's funny is, like, this is what I shoot with. Okay. You know, it's like every once in a while I use the iPhone, but so this camera is like, 20 years old, but I will say that this one isn't, because I dropped the 20-year-old camera and rebought it. Okay. And I bought it for $60 because guess what? No one wants these cameras. Same with the lens. I guess it's like I started shooting them, and I have this situation over here that's, I can only shoot here. I'm not a very technical, I don't know if you caught on, I'm not very technical. So it kind of worked shooting with this window light from one side. I used to go, there's another, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I see the light.
I used to shoot over here on this table, but it was a little dingy, and so I switched to this, and I think there's another level of, because there's a story, there's a dialogue going on the whole time I'm making it. The whole time I'm making the piece, I take a couple, I already have the concept in when I've which gets me to kickstart it and make it. And then while I'm making it, we've kind of gotten to know each other, and I have a few more stories to tell. And I kind of write those down, or think about those, or contemplate those, and I take notes. And so then it's time. I think you can kind of tell people what's in your head with motion more than you can. I'm not a writer, so I do write short, quippy sentences, blurbs, but I think in the same way that someone would write like a few paragraphs about what they're trying to articulate, I do it in a video, and it's like something about, it's like plucked out of a real life moment. And the other thing, there will never be people. Every once in a while, I think there's once or twice I put a person figure, and that's something I'm always contemplate.
Yeah.
But the idea that it's absent of people, it's like, I hope that everyone brings themselves into it a little bit. And I want to kind of say, like, this happened, you get this, do you remember this? And I want you all to kind of think about it, put yourself in there. So
you have two really well done, beautiful, like, they're animation films, if you will, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about them? There's two projects that you have.
So I help some friends produce a movie, and then I watch this whole movie world unfold, and I'm like, oh, this is neat. Like, you can like make a little movie and like submit it to a film festival. And so I did kind of a compilation of what I was doing, and a lot of when I do things like that, the motivation is to get I'm self-taught, and I do believe in the structure of, like, if you have a project, you get yourself organized, and you get your thoughts organized, and it's like you're talking to someone who's not really there, but it does it does force you to kind of like answer questions that maybe were like spinning around up in your head.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a movie that kind of summarized what I was working on, because so Don't You Forget, and I have some close friends that are musicians, and they wrote the song Don't You Forget About Me, but it was kind of a play on Don't You Forget About Me, but it's a lovely song. And that is kind of introduces what From Scraps is. It's like, it shows that I kind of started here, and like, these objects kind of come to life, and then it shows some of the short animations. So I did that, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the next step? And the next step was, okay, let me start telling a bigger story. I tell all these anecdotal moments, but I never say like the complete personal story. And there's a moment when I moved to San Francisco, rather alone, like I moved, I don't know, people move now, and there's internet and there's this and that. Like, I moved and there wasn't really anybody there. And like, if I wanted to call home, like I want to call my dad, it's like I had to go to the bar and go on the payphone because like my phone wasn't hooked up yet, like things like that. It's like, it was a bit lonelier. And so there's a story that takes place about my first day of interviewing called Pantyhose. And it really is a true story. Actually, it's a true story, but watch it. And then like, there's like 3 other chapters. Like, it was like what I realized is if you're new to a situation and your like eyes are wide open, like strangers will glom to you and like help you and talk to you. And I think kind of, especially now where we don't get any of that. And that's like one of the most valuable things.
But it's a true account of your experience when you were in San Francisco.
Totally true.
All using your tiny sculptures in animation. And this is called Pantyhose. I really, we put the link in the comment section. You must see it. It's a short film. What is it, like 7 minutes?
4. It's only 4 minutes. Well, the irony, Darren, is that all those objects, like I decided to tell the story. I'm like, I already have that. I already have that. Like, so it's like I made the objects already.
Right. Well, it's your life. It's your life story. I want to encourage people to go and definitely check out this film because it's adorable, it's heartwarming, it's all of the above. And then, you know, if you're a miniaturist, you're like, oh my God, that's a tiny thing. So you have that extra added excitement. But definitely check it out. But I definitely want to get to your studio space.
Oh, okay.
Because I just, we had chatted early on before all this, and I got to see a little bit of your studio space, but I think just sharing this with you guys who are watching is just incredible. All right, so take us through what we are seeing.
Okay,
There's an order to it. There's an order to your studio because where you were sitting right now was pretty neat, and this is just all over the place.
So there's the red chair. So I come in and I can barely open the door. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you hear me? So I can barely open the door, and I'm gonna go close and kind of go into.
Yes. Wow.
So this is. So the first process of, okay, I want to make, whatever. I want to make skis. I kind of go through, these are more the trinket piles, if you can see.
Oh, so there is an order.
Kind of. Right now it's a little, but yeah, the bigger stuff tends to be right there in the back and then kind of there. Let me zoom out so that you can kind of see what I see all day when I work. So this is kind of a better.
There's a lot of bright colors.
There is.
I'm making order out of. Look how the yellow car on top. I mean, that is I just love that whole scene that you're just showing right now.
That's from Pantyhose, Darren. That's the cab.
Oh, it's the cab.
Yep. And actually, what's fun, I'll show you. Although, wait, let me see if I can get up there. I'll show you. So then I have some shelves on this side. But I have the inside of the taxi. Let me do. Which. Again, like that's something I debated doing is like.
Oh, I love the skate.
So then there's like, if you can see, like I had never done so this was the closest thing to like a prop.
Right.
So it's like it's the New York or well, San Francisco cab thing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So back to this place, it's double decker. Okay. Because we have to maximize our space.
Oh, there was a movie camera someone wants to see. Laura wants to see. We'll go back to it. Okay, take us through the studio space. Sorry. We're going over.
Oh, the movie camera? I'll show you that.
I didn't want to distract you. Oh, look at that. That is just amazing.
So that's a little bit more abstract. Yeah, so this is the elementary school. Like they're going to show you chocolate on the movie about how chocolate's made on Friday and it's going to be the best day of your life.
Yes. And so, they used to roll that they used to roll that in and you knew you could it was time to play.
So I have to say, like, I am trying more often than I have in the past to kind of just watch how the objects are together. So like, like this, it's interesting to see a chair on that or to see a cart with a piano, and like things like that.
Yeah, I want to remind folks that they need to check out your Instagram account because you really bring all of these structures to life with your photography and your animation and your GIFs. And yeah, it takes it to a whole nother place. I mean, looking at the chair gives you a certain feeling, but then you go in and you see some of the photography work and it takes you to another level. Oh, look at the bed. Oh,
the bed, honestly, like I wonder if I have this scar. It's interesting. This is an old, like a tote box that I had, and it just seems so right for the mattress for so long. This was, and actually these are some old.
The blue is so right. The colors are so right, and I think that's another thing that we have to recognize is that you find the right colors out of that stash in front of you.
It's not always an easy, and sometimes it gets ugly. Because I can't find what I'm looking for. Like I'll go in, like, and I'm looking for some. Oh, actually, here you'll see. This is that's the lamp.
Oh,
I showed you the pink lamp
that has texture on it. You find
there's the here.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness, that's just crazy. All right.
Yeah.
Just checking in with you guys at home. Does anybody have any other questions while we're checking out this awesome studio space? I'm loving the wing chair and the singer. Oh my goodness. I just think it's amazing. They love the lamp. I love the diner set.
And that one has a big rip in it too by design. I mean,
Yeah, it's just incredible. So what is next for you? I know you show everywhere. Oh my God, can we just take a moment? Up the umbrella. The oh my God, the see-through umbrella. What material is that?
some sort of plastic that I melted, I guess.
Melted it. And
I
there's
don't know if I melted or cut it, and then because it's not perfect, and
it's
that's
perfect. It is
it's
perfect.
certainly not. And this, no one. Do you know what this is? No one knows what this is.
Is it a part of a I don't know. I'm
A
afraid to say the wrong
harpsichord.
thing.
I think it's called a harpsichord, but no one knows this
Oh
one.
yeah, Teresa's got all the right answers. She says it's a harpsichord. Or a
Exactly.
zither? Someone said it's a zither.
Yes, that's the right name. That's the right name.
I love it.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God, that's fun. Like, and then there's the and these are all kind of next to each other.
We did get
This
a
is
question
fun.
about the finishes. So do you use any special varnish or
No, never. Mm-mm.
no? Just no?
No, I don't understand. I wouldn't even know how to start.
So it's the glue. It's the glues that you don't even like.
No finish. It's just the paper. It's whatever the paper is so important. Like it has to be the right finish.
Right?
Yeah, no.
There's no finish on that shiny
No,
submarine
it's
seat.
just I just have to find the right paper.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Someone said
Bottom
it's a
line,
waterfall from the 60s, so it could be that.
yeah, like I feel like
Love the New York City subway cars. They love that.
that's actually there's the cigarette machine. That's
I love.
one of the
So are you available for commissions? Do you take on commissions and do you?
I have actually, like I've done, and it's exciting, especially when it's something that like a gentleman, I had done an arcade machine and stuff, and I recently was chatting with someone, and I had talked about a memory I had, and I actually made them the same one that I had created, not the same one, the one from my memory, but I would, yeah. Like I do, I pretty much can make anything that doesn't breathe.
Yeah, but do you like taking commissions? Because a lot of artists don't like to be sort of, quote unquote forced to do something that
It would just have to be the timing and stuff. Like I have no rules.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is
like I feel like sometimes I think like with your show, like it was exciting. I think sometimes somebody asking you to get out of your comfort zone opens your mind up to somewhere that you may be, again, that's education. That can be groundbreaking. So I feel like, there's some stuff that I'd be like, oh, I don't even know if I don't, that just makes me nauseous. But like, there's some stuff like I hadn't thought of that. Like that seems like a new path to go down,
Yeah. So what is next for you? Because you show a lot.
I just got the news that I will be having a show in Philadelphia in March. And I just got that news, and that's exciting. And
are you going to do new work for it? Or are you going to show some of your existing pieces?
Both.
Both.
Like, I mean, I have lots of, I'm doing something, like I said, I'm working all the time. So there's always new stuff. Yeah.
I think that's
And
excellent.
we're still, I think they're still deciding what'll be in it. Yeah. So that's exciting. Like so that, and then I'm working on another movie. One that's somebody else's story about how they learn to drive. And then another one, it's actually a little bit about not having a phone.
Yeah.
A little bit anecdotal.
I want to take one more sweep to answer any other questions before we start to wrap up. Will you post about your show on Instagram? I'm sure you will.
Yeah. I believe it's at the end of March.
End of March. Okay.
And again, I just got the details. So yeah, and Instagram is, I love, people are like social media. I love Instagram. And I mean, my website's fairly up to date. I think so. And it's a good resource because I do kind of like, keep it well laid out, but I love Instagram. Like if I do everything on that.
Yeah. All right, one last question. Oh, this is a good question. How has your work changed due to COVID and quarantine? Or has it? Or I don't know. You've been
That's a really good question. I don't know if it I don't know if it has, because the one thing that's interesting, in the beginning, I sent some things out. I'm like, I never put people in my work to begin with, and already we're in a world without people. So it was kind of like, you know, it was bittersweet. You know, the pantyhose was in a couple of festivals, and I didn't get to go, and that was bummer. Like,
that's how it's changed.
I mean, come on, suck it up, Lydia. Like that's the worst thing. And I feel very fortunate. And the other thing I will say that I get a huge amount of inspiration from walking, and the one with COVID, no one was around, like March, April, May, and it was I just could walk down the middle of the streets, and it was a different kind of freedom and brainstorming because there was nothing, you know, it was just like silent. And so it just put my brain in a different place, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, this has been awesome and fabulous and fascinating. And thank you for opening up your studio space to us and sharing your work. We're going to look forward to your new show that's coming up. I'll be happy to help promote as soon as the information is available.
Darren, thank you for everything, though. You've been a form of inspiration, so I really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. And this has just been so inspiring. We got some great feedback, which I'll share with you later. I'll share this chat box with you. But thank you guys at home for spending time with us on this Sunday at Meet the Miniaturist. This has been fantastic. And Lydia, thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Take care.
The rest of your weekend and week and everything and all that.
Enjoy the sunny day.
Right. Bye. Bye, guys.